Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 20th Millennium Series Management Series here at Prince George's Community College. It's a wonderful afternoon because we have one of our community speakers here today who owns several franchises of Chick-fil-A. We have been patrons of that particular franchise for quite some time, and we welcome Keith Singletary Sr. to our college and to our Millennium Series. Keith Singletary is here to speak with you about different aspects of a franchise and owning a business, and he will share with you some of the aspects of him owning a business, a franchise, the advantages and disadvantages. We do have next the introduction of our speaker by Dwayne Lewis, who is an Hillman entrepreneur student.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity to introduce Mr. Keith Singletary, who I know personally is a friend, a dear friend of mine. Keith Singletary has worked in the areas of business operations, finance, accounting, and auditing for 25 years within various governmental organizations, public and private sectors, nonprofits, and as an entrepreneur. In each he takes including managing budgets, some exceeding over $120 million, and providing training and development of key staff. Currently, as an owner of 2 Chick-fil-A franchises in Largo, Maryland, and in Capitol Heights, Maryland, Keith Singletary communicates a clear vision for his franchise operations. With a sharp eye on development of key management staff, Keith keeps his more than 140 employees focused on their shared vision for the restaurant and its aggressive long-term goals for sales, food quality, and customer satisfaction. Together, they plan for future success on a daily basis, which has led to tremendous growth in business. Within the past 10 years, both locations have received Chick-fil-A's highest awards for sales growth from 2005 to 2012. Keith Singletary has received numerous commendations within the community and the business world. Keith was featured in the July 2008 issued Franchise World magazine for his accomplishments within the franchise community. He also serves on a number of voluntary advisory boards within Prince George's community. He is a product of a Prince George's County school system with a Bachelor's of Science degree in Accounting and Finance from Cheyney University in Cheyney, Pennsylvania. He is married with 2 children and resides in Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. Please join me in welcoming Keith Singletary.
Thank you so much. It is a privilege to be here. I certainly want to thank the Hillman's Entrepreneur Program for inviting me and just to be able to share with you some of my insights as it relates to franchising and that golden egg. I truly believe it's a golden egg, and hopefully after we finish today, you'll believe so as well. When we talk about franchising, what makes it a golden egg? A lot of people ask that one question, so we're going to talk about some advantages and some disadvantages. But one of the things I love about franchising is, number one, you're not in business by yourself. You're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. You have a huge support with a franchisor, which is somewhat like a parent company, and a subsidiary like myself, which is a franchisee. The benefit is you don't have to start from scratch. If I wanted to open up a Keith's Rib Shack, many of you all never heard of it. You probably will never come. But having the benefit of a $5 billion company like Chick-fil-A, you get a chance to be able to lean on that on the accomplishments of Chick-fil-A. It's an established brand. Franchises actually have an opportunity to have established systems in place, whether they be operational systems, finance and accounting system, IT systems. So they have a lot of things that you have the framework set up, so all you have to do basically just come in and kind of work the model. The success in franchising is based on your own efforts. Many times when you're working for someone else, there's a limitation to sometimes how far you can go. But in franchising, it gives you the opportunity to be able to go as far as you want to go based on your own efforts. You have the ability to select talent yourself. Now notice I didn't say hire talent. We specifically select talent. That's very important to us, and that's what's really part of our success with Chick-fil-A. Along with franchising, you have an opportunity of establishing your own goals, and you have an opportunity to also establish the structure of your organization. For instance, you may want to have an organization that has maybe one manager and many supervisors. Within our 2 locations, we have a different level of organization. We have directors, junior directors, we have team leaders, we have supervisors. And so that's something as a franchisee, I have the ability to be able to establish myself. So you have that flexibility of establishing your own organization. The other thing that's really wonderful is that it offers increased opportunity for success based on the brand. When you look at, again, when we talked about opening up a Keith's Rib Shack, I could be successful in that, but I would have a much harder go at it because not many people have heard about Keith's Rib Shack. Who's heard of Keith's Rib Shack? Raise your hand. But you have heard of Chick-fil-A. And with a franchise company, you have the benefit of being able to lean on a proven track record that they have already established. One thing that franchise corporations offer, they offer the assistance in site selection. If you wanted to put a location somewhere in the county, if I were building my own restaurant, I'd have to do all the legwork. I'd have to go down to the county courthouse. I need to ensure that the zoning was appropriate. In a franchise organization, they provide all of that support. They provide also support for the design and construction. They give you a format for training. That's something you can use, but here again, it's flexible where you can really tweak it to your organization. And then also too, in franchising, they allow opportunities for financing too as well. So that golden egg allows you to do a number of different things as opposed to you starting from scratch. The other thing that you get in franchising is that you have the benefit of what I call buying power. We have over 1,800 restaurants throughout the United States. And so we get the buying power, I get the buying power of the other 1,799 locations to be able to maximize on pricing for our products, for our produce, a number of things that I would not get if I weren't franchising, if I were operating on my own. So when we talk about some disadvantages of franchising, some disadvantages are you're not completely independent. I am required as a franchisee to operate within a certain framework based on the procedures that Chick-fil-A. Now, you all know Chick-fil-A mostly sells what? Chicken, exactly. Now, I will stand here and tell you that I love beef. I love a good hamburger, but one of the disadvantages in franchising is that I can't go out and serve a hamburger on my menu. That's not a part of the agreement. So I'm really kind of, I have to stay on track with what Chick-fil-A has established in our agreement. That means serving chicken, not serving beef, The other thing that we have that's different from us is that we close on Sundays. Now, many of you have probably driven by Chick-fil-A on a Sunday and have forgotten that it's closed. Now, when you look at this industry, two of our biggest days are Saturdays and Sundays. If, in fact, I wanted to open up on Sunday, I don't have the flexibility of doing that. If I opened up one Sunday, next week there will probably somebody else standing right here, because Chick-fil-A won't allow me to do that. That's part of that agreement that we have. So that's somewhat of a disadvantage. If you're somebody that's a renegade and you want to do things on your own, franchising may not be the best option for you. Another thing that might be considered a disadvantage in franchising is that you're obligated to pay a franchise fee. It's usually a one-time fee to become a part of the corporation. And then you have ongoing royalty fees, ongoing advertising fees that you pay, usually on a month to month, could be quarterly, could be annually. So those are some disadvantages to franchising. Another disadvantage is restrictions on pricing. Now, we serve our sandwich $2.85, I believe. Now, I know I could probably get $3 for that sandwich easily, but part of our agreement with Chick-fil-A is that this is the pricing structure, this is what we have to sell it for. And so that's considered a disadvantage. If you look at, if I sold my sandwich for $3 and you went to some of the local Chick-fil-A's closer to where my locations are in Bowie, and they sold theirs for $2.85, that will create some inconsistencies. And so as a franchise organization, they're always looking for consistency. One of the other disadvantages in franchising is that a damaged brand can impact your business. I'm in the Washington metropolitan area. If something happened negatively to a Chick-fil-A in Omaha, Nebraska, I would be impacted. And so that's considered to be one of the disadvantages, that even though you may be doing a great job where you are, a disadvantage could be somebody, whether they're serving a bad product, whether they're something negatively impacts their business because it's a franchise, and people don't see you as one Chick-fil-A here, they see you globally. And so that's certainly a disadvantage too as well. Now, we talked about advantages and disadvantages. How do you select your golden egg? That's a question I want you all to ponder. How do you select that? One thing I would encourage you to do is spend time to find out where your passions are. What are you passionate about? Where are your interests? Because if your passion directs you to your career, then you'll never have to work another day in your life, because you'll be so passionate about it, you won't look at it as work. As you're pondering what you're passionate about, when you find that, I want to encourage you to do your due diligence. Spend time researching, then research some more, then research some more. Then as you determine that this is the direction you want to go, this is something that might be foreign to some of you, volunteer. Now, when I say volunteer, that means work for free. If this is an area that you want to work in, volunteer some of your time so that you can learn the ins and outs of the business. There may be some opportunities where you can actually come aboard somewhere and somebody might pay you, but this is part of that due diligence, doing the research, finding out what it is, if this is certainly your passion. Then what that will lead to becoming a student of the business. Be a student of what you're passionate about. As you find that passion, seek out those individuals that have been successful in that area of business. because they will be a good source of wisdom for you. They'll be able to share with you some pitfalls that they may have gone through to help keeping you go through some of the same pitfalls. Again, if you're passionate about your work, you'll never have to work another day in life. Then as you find that golden egg, what do you do with it? Many times people will find something and they don't know how to nurture it. As you find your golden egg, I would encourage you to have a clear vision of how you want that business to grow. It's really important that as you engage in something, you got to have a plan. You all have heard many times people say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So you want to have a plan in place. Not only will be helpful for yourself, but also it'll be clear enough for the folks that work for you so that they'll all be on the same page when it comes to meeting that goal or satisfying that vision. Another strategy is to not to hire, but to select. Now there's a difference between that. I look at hiring as hiring for a position, a warm body. When I started the business 14 years ago, I was new, didn't know what I was doing much, but I knew that I needed somebody to run the register. I knew I needed somebody to fillet chicken. And so I tended to hire that warm body or hire that person instead of selecting the right individual based on their giftedness. As you develop this strategy for your golden egg, find those people whose passions mirror what you need in your business. And then you'll be able to have that duplicative process where they'll be passionate about what they'll do, and most likely they'll become successful as well. Develop sound systems. Now in franchising, a lot of systems are in place, tons of systems, but the challenge is that getting people to follow through with those. And then too, all of what Chick-fil-A gives me, I'm still able to build on those. You know, franchising will give you the framework, but it's up to me to be able to take that framework and tweak it, massage it to my business and where it's consistent with my vision. And the last thing for developing your strategy for golden egg, I want to make certain that you strive for excellence. There's a lot of talk about being successful. My definition of success is not based on what I have, but it's based on what I do for other people. And so if that's part of your philosophy, you'll be successful. But even before you get to successful, success and excellence, when you look at both of them, excellence is really based on your efforts. It's really based on your efforts, how far you can go with what you have inside of here. Success is really sometimes measured against others, or could be measured against a goal. But I can tell you, if you're successful, it does not necessarily mean that you're excellent. But if you strive for excellence, I can guarantee you'll become successful. So those are some of the strategies that I have as you get your golden egg. Just to share with you, and we'll get into the questions and answers after this, why I selected this particular industry. As you search for that golden egg, you got to be able to ask yourself that question. Why do I want to do this? Does it line up with my core values? Is this something I'm going to be proud of? I wanted to be in business for myself, but not by myself. That's one of the reasons why I selected Chick-fil-A. Now, there's some other companies I could have selected, but I would have had to work on Sundays. The reputation weren't as great as Chick-fil-A. Their core values were consistent with my core values, so that matched up perfectly. The other thing I wanted to do was be able to provide a valuable product and service in the community where I live. I wanted to be proud of that. The other thing I wanted to do was to be able to mentor kids and young adults by providing opportunities in the community. And so that's why I selected Chick-fil-A, and that's why I selected franchising. And the last thing was I also wanted to make a good living for myself too as well. Now, you notice that I put that last for a reason, because I found that this is my passion, and if I'm passionate about what I do, and if you're passionate about what you do, you'll be successful. If you put others before you, I guarantee you'll be successful. Thank you so much. Did you have questions and answers? Okay, all right, okay. Did you want me to stay up here or? Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Professor Elijah Cooks, and I'm Chairman of the Business Department here at Prince George's Community College. And thank you very much, Mr. Singletary, for being here.
My pleasure.
This is the question and answer period. First, I'm going to start out by asking him a few questions, and then I'm going to reach out to the audience. So I'm hoping you business majors in particular to have some questions ready for Mr. Singletary. When I do call you, please stand up, or at least get to the microphone, and state your name and your discipline. That is to say, if you're a business student, accounting, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Mr. Singletary, why is the company closed on Sundays? I mean, there's great revenue, there's great growth there. I'm just wondering why.
Very good question.
Thank you.
S. Truett Cathy was the founder of the company. He started his business in 1946, with what was called the Dwarf House. And when Chick-fil-A came along in 1977,
Okay.
the name Chick-fil-A, he decided to close its doors because he really wanted a day of rest. He was working around the clock, but he wanted to take a day off, and he wanted to be able to spend some time in worship. Now, if you work for Chick-fil-A, you don't necessarily have to be a Christian or anything like that, but you know that when you come to Chick-fil-A, you're going to have a day of rest, at least a time to just kind of wind down and relax.
I see. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Questions? Any questions, please? Please, once again, just step to the microphone so we can at least get to see you and get to know something about you. For those of you that don't know, this is Professor Greg Weiss, one of our outstanding professors here in the business department. Greg?
Yeah, hi. I teach here, and I push franchising also because you've got a big brother. He gives you an airplane and says fly it. That's good. Now, I wonder about when you're in a different part of the country, New York, for example. It's more expensive to live in New York. It's more expensive to pay for your space and all those things. So you have to stay with a Washington, D.C. price, or can you tailor to specific areas?
Great question. We have regional pricing. So our pricing structure here, and we call it the northern region, is different from what we have out in the west. And certainly up in New York, we're getting ready to open restaurants in New York later this year and next year. So the pricing, I told you a Chick-fil-A sandwich is $2.85. I can guarantee you it will not be $2.85 in New York. So that would certainly help address that.
Okay, like a follow-up on that.
Yeah.
Within a region, can you do your own specials like a Mother's Day or a Groundhog Day special at twofers like that within your region, or are you tied into a set price there?
Yes, we can. The set price is a set price, but what you're really talking about is kind of marketing. We can market our business however we want, with the exception of one thing: we don't discount our food. And so we would rather give you a sandwich as opposed to selling you a sandwich for 99 cents. And so that's really the only limitations that we have. So we have things for Mother's Day. We don't have Groundhog Day. I'm gonna have to send that to my director of marketing.
It's a big.
We don't have that. It's a big one. But we have the autonomy to be able to market however we want, as long as it fits within the pricing structure and the discount structured to as well.
That's really nice flexibility.
Yeah.
Some franchises, they don't tell you anything about pricing. You can price anything you want,
No.
and I guess for certain types of franchises that works. But for this one, your structure sounds great. Obviously, it's very successful. Yeah.
And we believe part of the success is based on consistency. That's one of the reasons why we're consistent with that. And then too, as guests and customers, as you come to the restaurant, we find that our guests want a consistent experience. They want the food to be consistent. They want the restaurant to be clean. They want our team members to be attentive and courteous. And so consistency is a huge thing. My wife teases me all the time about leaving my socks on the floor in our bedroom. She would love for me to be consistent. I'm working, striving for it, but consistency is a huge thing. Yeah.
Thanks.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Mr. Singletary, would you elaborate a bit more on the franchising fee? I mean, what's the average franchising fee if I wanted on my own Chick-fil-A, not in your region, of course, or
Okay.
your area, but what's
Okay.
the average?
I like
and
that.
what's the difference between the franchising fee and royalties for the
Okay.
benefit of the audience?
Very good question. Now, I'm glad you're sitting down because when I tell you, I'm gonna tell you our franchising fee, but franchising fees in this industry can go from $5,000 to $1 million. I believe McDonald's is probably close to $1 million. Our franchise fee, and that's the fee that you give. I had to cut a check for Chick-fil-A to be able to own this restaurant, and it's $5,000. Now, usually you hear this, all this grumbling. It's $5,000. So let me tell you what makes our agreement different. Ours is $5,000, and we own the business, but not the building. And so what I mean by that, our relationship with Chick-fil-A says that I pay one-time $5,000 fee. I pay them a royalty fee, which is kind of the fee that we call a royalty fee. It's really the use of the name Chick-fil-A. And so I pay them that once a month. And then at the end of the month, I pay them another fee too as well, which is more of like a franchise fee. Not a franchise fee, but we call it a service charge. And that's based on my sales. I pay them a certain percentage based on my sales, and then at the end of the month, we split our profits. Now, unlike other franchises where they own the building, own the equipment, they own everything, they have to put up more money, but yet and still they keep the bottom line. But in my arrangement with Chick-fil-A, we're netting out the same.
I see.
But my cash the output is a lot lower than what some of our other franchise companies are. So.
Okay. Is there a parent company associated with Chick-fil-A?
No, Chick-fil-A is not a publicly held company. It's a private-owned company based out of Atlanta, Georgia. If it were a publicly held company, meaning that you can purchase stock in the company, I guarantee you, some of you all, the shareholders, will want them to be open on Sundays. And so that's one of the reasons why it will always stay a private company. So there's no parent company. It's owned by the Cathy family, which is based in Atlanta, Georgia.
Are there any international locations?
No, not yet. We did have one that opened in Durban, South Africa, probably about 10 to 15 years ago. And it wasn't successful. We believe sometimes when you take a product and you move it from one place to another, you try to market it the same way like you would here. And I think we just didn't change and adapt to the different dynamics in Durban. And so we will have some internationally probably within the next couple of years.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Questions? Next question, please. Sorry, please state your name and your discipline. Thank you.
Sure. I'm Lakeisha Fox. I'm here graduating in the spring for general studies, and I'm currently in a development leadership class. So my question to you is, what leadership skills that you contribute to Chick-fil-A to continue its success?
Excellent question. The leadership skills I attained really was before I came to Chick-fil-A. And it had nothing to do about ability as it relates to working computers, working systems. It was more relational. And so the experience I had in my prior jobs, I had a lot of experience relating to people, connecting to people really well. That, to me, is the best skill sets you can have, interpersonal skills, to be able to connect with people on multiple levels. Because whatever business you decide to get in, the consistency that we'll have in both of our businesses are people. If you can't lead, if you can't motivate, if you can't inspire people, you're always going to have a challenge with that. We can teach people how to use a computer, but it's harder to teach somebody to smile, to have a servant mentality.
Okay, one more thing. You talk about consistency,
Yeah.
consistency a lot. So, doing this, how do you manage your time and being consistent with everything you have to do with the business going and everything?
Leadership. I would tell you, when I first started off 14 years ago, one of my team leaders is here, my old team leaders back in 2000, 2002, Dwayne, folks like him, I see two of my other young leaders here as well, being able to, I have a model that I use, serve, see and shape the future, engage and develop others, reinvent continuously, value relationships and results, then embody the values. Engage and develop in others. That's how you do that. I had to be able to give up some of the business and entrust it to folks to be able to handle it. And so that's how I balance my time.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Next question, please. Please state your name and your discipline.
Hi, my name's Imani Payne. I'm a healing entrepreneur, and my major is business administration.
Yeah.
And I just have one question.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for aspiring entrepreneurs?
What do I have?
What advice do you have for aspiring entrepreneurs?
Number one, it's not going to be easy. Number two, anything worth having is not going to be easy. Number three, find your passion. Find what your passion is and develop that into an opportunity. The fourth thing is do your homework. Do your homework, connect with people that are possibly in the area where you want to go, establish relationships with them, learn as much as you can, be a sponge. Be a sponge. And then I don't know whether I said be patient.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, my pleasure.
Just a couple other questions I'd like to inject. Who's responsible for promoting the product or marketing?
In my business?
Yes.
I have a team of marketing folks, there's 1 to 4 people. And so I have a director of marketing, he works between both restaurants. And along those 4, not only do they market the product,
Right.
they go out and, and solicit sales. And so that's their primary job. Now my other leaders in operations, that's a part of their responsibility as well. You know, our business grows because we don't have just one person or a group of people doing one thing. We have people touching the business across the board. And that's really beneficial for them because the more they learn, the more they develop, the more opportunities will come their way.
Does the company have an online presence?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, online. Okay.
Facebook corporation has a Facebook. We have a Facebook page. We actually have a Twitter following. I don't know if you all know about our mobile truck that we have. We're the only Chick-fil-A in the chain that has a mobile truck. We're down in Washington, D.C. every day.
Okay, thank you.
My
Thank you.
pleasure.
Next person, please state your name and your discipline, please.
Hi, my name is Eric Roshini. I'm a business administration major. This is my last semester, and I'm with the Hillman Entrepreneurs as well.
How are you?
My question actually relates to when you were talking about inspiring and motivating the employees and teaching them how to smile. I noticed that every time I go into a Chick-fil-A, all the employees are really happy. You can tell they love their job. They're inspired to be there. And I just want to know what the secret is behind that.
Well, Eric, I tell you, it's not a really big secret. I talked a little bit about hiring versus selecting. Our selection process is just so high that most people won't be able to get a job with us because we do less time teaching somebody to smile and more time teaching them about the business. And so when they come to us, they already have those basic basic traits already. Smile, they love helping people, they love our food. You don't have to love our food, but it helps. And so they have that basic foundation, and so we just basically build on what they have already.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Now the question, why would I want to buy a salad from, say, Chick-fil-A versus McDonald's or Burger King? I mean,
I would tell you now, we've just changed our salads about 4 months ago. We have no iceberg lettuce in our salads. How many of y'all know that iceberg has no nutritional value at all? Okay.
Thank you.
We used to have iceberg in our lettuce, and so I would tell you one thing, our salads are made fresh daily. Not only daily, but they're made hourly, and so you've got a fresh product. It's made with tender love and care. When you come in, you're going to receive honor, dignity, and respect. You're going to get your food fast. You're going to get a warm smile. You're going to get an overall great experience.
Okay.
That's why you should buy it. So we'll see you there tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Absolutely.
all right, okay, great.
I'm sold, I assure you. Okay. Thank you. Next question, and please state your name and your discipline, please. Thank you.
I'm Clifton Holloway. I'm with the Hillman Entrepreneurs, and my major is business management. So going back to what you said about Keith's Rib House, so you said that...
You said Key?
It's Keith's Rib House?
Oh, Ribs House. Okay, Ribs House. Okay, Ribs House. Okay, gotcha.
The
gotcha.
original Keith's
okay,
Rib House.
Yes.
So you said working with a franchise, you'll get the name of the franchise backing you up. So if I were to own a Chick-fil-A franchise, could I also branch off and make my own, say, muffin top house and also have Chick-fil-A back me up? How would I go about that? Do I present a business idea to them? And what royalties would they have over my business?
Very good question. The first question is, if you wanted to go out and do whether Rib Shack or Muffin, part of the agreement that I have with Chick-fil-A is that I have a non-compete. And so that means I would not compete in the food industry at all. And so I would not be able to do that. I would tell you, if I did, let's say if I did design something, I had a good friend of mine that, if you had the Chick-fil-A sauce before?
Oh yeah, that's amazing. What is your secret?
Well, that I can't tell you that, I have to kill you now. But the Chick-fil-A sauce was actually designed from an owner-operator in Fredericksburg, Virginia. But he didn't get any credit for it because he used Chick-fil-A's products to develop it, and it was during Chick-fil-A's time, so they kind of took over that. So that speaks to your question about if you do something that's related to the business and it's going to benefit Chick-fil-A, it's seldom that whether it's Chick-fil-A or another franchisor would provide you the royalties for that. They might do a little something for you, but it won't be what you expect. Okay.
All right, thank you.
If you're a friend of a friend of a friend design something, wink, wink. You know? I mean, that would be a different story.
So I still get the secret sauce, right?
The secret sauce, yeah. I can't tell you the secret sauce. All right.
Here in the Washington, D.C. area, we get a minimum of 20 million tourists from all over the world.
Yeah.
If someone walked in with an international currency, say the euro or British pound sterlings, and they just didn't have dollars, would you accept it, or would you? I mean,
No,
how
we
would you
would.
handle that?
We accept U.S. currency. That's it. U.S. currency, and every now and then we'll get some Canadian currency in, but we would direct them to one of our local banks that could exchange it for them.
I see.
That would be the best that we'd be able to do for them.
Okay, thank you very much. And next question, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Monica Bryant. I'm a Hillman entrepreneur and majoring in business administration. Earlier with your marketing department, you say you have a marketing director and he has someone that works with him, and they're working both your stores. One of the things you said they do is they go out and get sales. Now, when I think of Chick-fil-A, I think of commercials going out to get sales, and then again, your establishments, you know, there's a Chick-fil-A here, so you're proprietary. You can't have any other Chick-fil-A's nearby. So what type of sales do they actually go out and get?
Good question, and probably going out and getting sales is probably my business grammar for that. Really what they're doing more than anything else is establishing relationships. That's really what they're doing. So when we go, and when they visit schools, we visit other businesses, and it's not always what you think, would you like a Chick-fil-A sandwich? No, it's always from the standpoint, I talked about serve, always trying to figure out what can we do to serve you. And so we don't always go with our hands open and say, can you buy 20 sandwiches? It's always from the standpoint, what can we do for you to be able to establish that relationship? So it's not so much to get sales. Eventually, what'll happen, it'll lead to that, yes.
So it's about establishing relationships within the community and other communities that are there
right.
and so forth.
You're
Okay.
absolutely right. Yes,
Thank
ma'am. Good question.
And let's see, let me try another question. Your training process, you do have a formal training process?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Do you find that there's a difference between males and females on the register, or are they essentially the same as far as the cash register is concerned?
That's a good question. I haven't done any research on that. I don't really see, in my head, I have two of my team leaders here. One's a male and one's a female. Okay. So you put me on the spot here. I think they both are doing exceptionally well. I don't, to be honest, I don't.
Yeah, you really don't see
I
any
really
difference between women running the
No.
cash registers versus the males.
No, no. It's, we, again, looking at that individual, are they focused? Do they have a heart for service? Do they like smiling? Is that hard for them? I mean, that's where we kind of, distinguish between if a person does, perform those tasks or have that basic foundation.
Yes.
Then that's a go. And sometimes that's a male, sometimes it can be a female. So it doesn't. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Next question, please.
I'm Chinwike Onawaku, business administration major.
How are you,
I have
sir?
2 questions for you. First question, one of the reasons you say you started with Chick-fil-A because you like their values. What are some of your values as far as business?
Good question. We actually have, how many core values, Tevin? We have 20 core values. I'm not going to give you 20 of them, but I'll give you a few. Service excellence, that's one of our main core values. Consistency, ownership, taking not so much owning the business, but taking ownership over your responsibilities, being accountable, fun, community, those are few.
And then also last semester I took a leadership development class and I wanted to know, what is your leadership style?
My leadership style is, you taught Briggs-Meyer? Is that the one you took? You took the Briggs-Meyer?
No, it wasn't that. It was just a leadership development
Okay.
course.
My leadership style is, it really relates to the serve. I was more of a relational leader, I would say probably 5 or 6 years ago, and I can establish relationships with you real well. I help motivate you. Where I fell down with, it was that accountability piece, that results piece. And so I'm very relational, but I'm very accountable. And so my style is very, I have what they call an open door policy. Anybody can come up and have a conversation with me. I try to posture myself in such a way that just because I'm the owner, I do everything that you do. You may come in the restaurant, see me mopping the floor, washing dishes. And so I'm non-combative. Those are some things I don't believe you can get people motivated by yelling and screaming at them. After a while, people will get tired of that and it becomes fruitless. And so, you try to connect with people, find out what I can do for you to help you succeed. And then that's where it begins.
All right, thank you.
My
Thank you.
pleasure.
Next question, please. Please, once again, just state your name and your discipline.
My name is Sarah Floyd. I'm an accounting major, and I was
Okay.
wondering what training programs do you guys have in place for the franchisees?
For the franchisees, Chick-fil-A has I went through a 6-week training program. And I would equate that to, if you ever had a drink out of a fire extinguisher, I mean, the fire hose, I mean, it's a lot of information in 6 weeks. And so that process, you know, we went through accounting, we went through IT, operationally, spent time in the restaurant. We did a whole host of things.
Thank you.
Now their process is different from my process. They were trying to get me ready in that 6-week period to be able to run a restaurant. I tell you, that wasn't really enough time, but you know, that's the amount of time that they give you. And so that process was very lengthy, but it was necessary. I mean, you're not going to always learn everything, just like the training process that we have at our restaurant. You go through a training period for 2 weeks. Then when you leave out, you don't leave out knowing everything. I mean, there's still part of the overall training process for us is the training process, then there's a coaching process, then there's a development process. So all three of those make up training. So the training for me was for 6 weeks at corporate, but then even now, say 14 years later, I'm still in the development process because I'm not at a point where I think I've learned everything. I still have mentors, not only in Chick-fil-A, outside of Chick-fil-A, other industries that kind of speak into my life and to my business. So hopefully that answered your question. My pleasure.
And finally, I would just like to ask, who's responsible for security? Is that the franchisor or you, the franchisee?
The franchisee.
Franchisee.
Now we have a number of, usually when you're outfitted in a restaurant or any business, they'll give you a budget for a number of cameras.
Okay.
And so I have about 16 more cameras. And that's, and some might say, well, is it because of where you live? It has nothing to do with, it's all about security and safety. One of the things we focus on, that's one of our core values. Security as it relates to our guests, safety as it relates to our team members. And so we're responsible for our own. You may come into one of my restaurants and we employ a couple of Prince George's police officers on Fridays and Saturdays because we get a lot of people in there.
That's right.
Not because people are trying to break the door down or anything. We've been there for over 10 years in the community and we've never had any break-ins, we never had any thefts, we never had anything. So we've really been blessed. You know.
Outstanding. Thank you. Thank you very much. This concludes the question and answer segment. Now, Ruth Lewis, she's going to give the closing remarks. Thank you.
Before I give the closing remarks, I just would like to present a gift to Mr. Singletary. Mr. Singletary, I really enjoyed your speech today, and I'm sure the students gathered a lot of information from it, especially the human entrepreneurs, because a lot of this information we're talking about in class, so it could really resonate with them, and I really appreciate you coming. So this is just a little gift from us to you.
Oh, thank you.
Something that you can hopefully sit on your desk and remember us here at Prince George's Community College.
Very nice.
It says, Keith Singletary, Prince George's Community College, 20th Millennium Management Lecture Series, March 4th, 2014.
Great, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. This is